Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Ericson. I'm chair of the Roseville Area Optimist Club Civics Education Committee. It's a committee that was formed a couple of years back to help our students, help our social studies teachers learn more about civics education. This will be the start in a series of videos that we're going to be interviewing appointed and elected officials and sharing their stories about the importance of civics education. With me is longtime friend Craig Waldron. Craig Waldron, like myself, had a long career, 45 years in city government. I only had 31 years in city government, serving for a total of 10 cities and a county. Craig's a dear friend. He is a charter member as well with the Roseville Area Optimist Club. And I'm going to talk to Craig today and have him tell you a little bit more about himself and how he got involved in the Roseville Optimist Club, but more importantly, how he got involved in city government. Craig, good to see you today.
Okay, good to see you. Thanks, Mike. In terms of how I became interested in public service and local government, I'm one of those dinosaurs that remembers John F. Kennedy's famous statement about, asking not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And I was just a kid then, but that really struck me, and right then and there I thought, I want to be a public servant, or I want to make a difference somehow. This really looks interesting to me, and I wasn't quite sure then how you'd do it and how you'd get there, but that really struck me. And then, of course, over the years, I figured out that government is a way that you can certainly make that difference, and that's how one does become a public servant. And like you, I just love local government. And I had been involved in some regional government. I'd been with state government periodically, and being close to the people and on the where you can reach out and see what you've accomplished, and people have the ability to connect with you. I just love local government and everything it represents and what we can get done.
So Craig, tell us, what on a day-to-day business does a city administrator do? You put a lot of years in city government, but what does a city administrator do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the one interesting thing there, Mike, and as well as everybody else, particularly with your tornado experience and so forth, is that there is no one typical day. You never know what you're going to face, and you may think that you're going to be meeting on the budget, and all of a sudden a truck overturns on 94, and you got to decide whether you're going to vacate a neighborhood or something.
Did you lose a cow over there in Oakdale?
Yes,
one day?
we had cows running loose too. I didn't have that in my planner for the day to go out and chase cows. So, but it's typical of the corporate board structure and a CEO. We have an elected city council, and then the city manager administrator is basically the chief executive officer, and you've got to take what that council and the elected officials want to get done and translate that over to your staff that's comprised of police, fire, community development, building inspections, park and recreation, and so forth. So you're kind of that leadership glue between the elected officials and then the professional staff. And you got to make sure you're taking that policy, translating it to a work plan, and moving things forward.
Craig, it sounds like it's a pretty tough job. Would you agree?
It is. It's not easy at all, and you work in a political world, not a Democrat Republican world, but you're working for politicians that have a different point of or different points of view between each other, so you have to work through it. But similar to what I've heard you say, I loved it. I never felt like I went to work a day in my life where I didn't enjoy what I did. Well, maybe a few days of union negotiations or something could get a little tough, but I was very fortunate. I loved what I did, working in local government, and you really feel sorry for when you hear people talking about dreading Monday and so forth. Around Sunday night, I was ready to go. Let's get back in the action here.
I agree. Thanks, Craig. Say, Craig, why don't you give us? You've had such a long and distinguished career as a city government official. Why don't you give us three or four of the highlights that, as you look back on your 45-year career, what are three or four of those highlights you can go, yes, yes, that made our community a better place to live?
Well, I can think of, there's a lot of them. One that certainly stands out to me was that awful, dilapidated, blighted Oakdale Mall that was just a mess. And within our careers, a lot of this is not a sprint; it becomes a marathon. So it took like 18, 19 years that I was there to get that thing redeveloped, and that's where the Hy-Vee and the senior citizens place is now. So getting that done was always an accomplishment. Secondly, I would say a lot of the public facilities. I was involved in the golf course and ice arena, nature center, and some of the fire stations, and getting those successfully completed was certainly a major task. And then I think the third thing is that we had made training the next generation really important. So we had a very aggressive internship where we'd bring young students in that showed a lot of promise and work with them and try to give them some really substantial work experience. And, a bunch of them are out there as city managers now and so forth. So working with that next generation and our whole internship program was really important to me.
Absolutely. You're so well known and well respected for the internship program. And in our profession of city government, that's something that you can take great pride in. Let's relate this now to our high school students. Let's take us back to high school. What were some of your experiences in high school that could potentially be related to civics education that you involved yourself in, Craig?
You mean when I wasn't sitting in detention and so forth? Oh, okay, got it. All right. I think early on I got interested in government in high school. Ran for student council and so forth, and got on the student council. And in my days, we would have speakers come in that were involved in local government that kind of helped me figure some of this stuff out. So we would have the elective sheriff come in, and the local state representative would come in and talk to us and really encourage where we were going in terms of, or what you could do in terms of local government. And then our teachers were really good because they'd help us figure out how that, folded together. Where's the sheriff come from? Where does a member of the House of Representatives fit in versus the state? So back in those ancient times, we did have a lot of discussion on this stuff, and our teachers worked with us on this, so we understood it.
Excellent, Craig. And I think that's important for our viewers, our students, our teachers to understand and appreciate that. And as we continue on with this interview, we want to let them know that the Roseville Optimist Club is certainly available to get into and provide services in your classroom. Craig, what are some of the current challenges facing local governments today?
Well, it's not getting any easier, and I think the lack of civility. You probably saw over the years how the tone would change between the public and between some of our elected officials. So I think the civility component is really critical. And then I think we have an ongoing challenge of really being able to fund the important things that local government does. Somehow we've ended up with a disconnect between taxes and the services that people seem to like. So people can come to the old truth and taxation meetings and just rake us over the coals, But then you interview them later on, and boy, they love police, and they love fire, and they love the recreation programs and so forth. So I think the challenge of being able to fund what we need to get done with this kind of anti-tax climate, and our suburbs are continuing to get, and the major cities are continuing to get older, and the infrastructure is being stressed, and it's a real challenge. And I think the third thing is people haven't figured out social media and how we're going to deal with that and how you respond. I always remember we'd be in a tough meeting, and before I even got out of the meeting, you know, the tweet cycle was going on out there, and so before I could even get out of the meeting to do some type of response and work on it, it was being tweeted out there already. So there's some challenges, but I think that's kind of what makes things fun also.
They do, and I think the challenges in our day-to-day lives in city government are challenges that allow us an opportunity to take a different look and see how, in fact, we can take care of business in a different way. Craig, what are some of the necessary qualities and skill sets that are essential to civics education that would help students and teachers better understand the importance of civics education?
Unfortunately, I think we have to go back to the basics. I've really been astounded, and you can even see this on some of the television interviews of, you know, freshman college students, you know, the name the three branches of government, or I've actually heard some not know who won the Civil War and things like that. So I think we really have to go back to the basics and help people understand, you know, the difference between local government and what the state does and the different federal branches and so forth. One of the things in the committee that we've talked about that you chair, and Don Silverta's working with me on this, we decided it'd be helpful just to do a one-page primer. Let's get the basics down and get them out there so at least people can be starting at the same level. And then I think the other thing is, you know, you can really do a lot of neat things in government, and particularly on the local level. And you've probably seen that when you've gone out to the schools. People aren't aware of us. They don't know what you can do. And my goodness, you can head up a park program, or you can, you know, work on public buildings and so forth. So people just aren't aware of the opportunities that are available and the neat things that we can do. But we got to go back to the basics first.
Craig, you're absolutely right. Going back to the basics is so important, and just a simple way to allow civics education to be learned and certainly taught in the schools. Tell us, Craig, the importance of having students attend a city council meeting. Tell us what that's like and what the takeaway for students after they attended an Oakdale City Council meeting.
I think that's really important, and we try to encourage as much as we can, and even to try to carry that forward with some college students that I've had too. But I think it's wonderful for them to get to see how it works, how a mayor works with the other council members and so forth, and you really get a local flavor and a really important understanding of how this stuff affects you day to day.
Absolutely. Craig, we're going to wrap this up by allowing you an opportunity to share a closing statement with our viewers, things that the social studies teachers and students can take with them to allow them an opportunity to connect up with the Roseville Area Optimist Club.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. You know, we're trying to get these materials done, and again, we're working on that one-page sheet and so forth, and that's always available. And of course, any of us are available. Just contact us on the website, and we'll be out there.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next time.